flat back, weld it up, grind it, putty, paint. Welcome to Demot Garage. We're back on the Krankenwagen, the 52 barn door ambulance. If you don't know what this thing is and you want to get caught up on previous episodes, links in the description below so you can go and check them out. Today we've got to do some repairs to the underneath of this thing before we paint it. I have the paint. Yeah, we've got to get the bumper bar off because there is actually a ding behind here that we're going to have to repair. Let's get cracking and get the bumper off, which I should be able to just go and pull it straight off. Let's go. All right, now, I'm not sure what Muppet did this, but it's got a dirty, great big dent in it right here. So we're going to have to repair that. There also is, looks like we've got some rust issues just behind this little area here, so that's going to need pulling out. And also on the other side of it, you can see up in here, it's actually been sandwiched like a taco. Yeah, that's no good. We'll have to try and pull that out too. Yeah, let's see how we go with this one. There is a few screws here that we've got to undo as well that are frozen in there. Just off camera, I've been just working on this area up here. Another Muppet has been doing some shonky welds up around here. So I've been just grinding these back and just get them acceptable because they're pretty bad. I don't know who, I reckon it was Stevie Wonder's brother that welded that thing. Let's continue on this front section here and get this sorted out. The plan of attack, just because it's going to be difficult for me to pull this section here out, I'm going to just cut a little window in here and flap that up, and then I can get in and whack it where it needs to be and then just weld it back together again. And then I'll be able to match this level section all the way along here. Otherwise, I just don't think I can pull it out. So let's do that. I mean, it's all going to have to be repainted here anyway, so we'll just chop into it. Take it up a bit further. Then we can get into here and knock this back now. Need a little bit more tappy, I think. There's obviously some rust inside there, which is not good. You can see that's the fold. That's the little fold that we've got to try to get rid of and push that down. And then it'll, yeah, it's just got to keep fandangling it. Let's have a look from underneath. Oh yeah. All right, one little tiny bit there, and we are rock and rolling. I think that is going to be as good as we're going to get it. So you can see in there, it's flatter. It's more this section here that we're, getting this flat section here right across now. It's got a slight bend in it just there. I think if I just push that bit out, but that bit's bit of level, that's good enough. Look, it's a lot better than what it was. And, a little bit of a skim coat of filler on that, and I'll sand it back and we're good to go. Well, what we're going to do now is get some rust treatment inside here because it definitely needs it. And then we're going to bend the flat back, weld it up, grind it, putty, paint. Done. So it is the next day. I've let this, I put my rust converter in, Rain-X as I use, and I've put some black epoxy. I've gone in through all the holes and pretty much just flooded this whole bottom seam just to make sure it doesn't rust. So we're ready now to bend this flat back and weld this back into position. So let's see how we're going to go getting this right. So the idea is here, because this part here is going to want to try and push itself in when I bend this, you can see it doing it already. Yeah, we can probably get behind it with a pry bar. Okay, now welder. Okay, so we're going to get a little bit of primer on this area here, and then we can put some filler over the top of that and call it good. And then I better put some masking tape and a bit of plastic over the top of that so we don't get overspray. We'll just drop this down a bit lower. All right, pop on a little bit of primer. Just on this area, these bare metal areas. All right, let's get some putty on this thing. I think that's pretty good. Okay, so she's sanded, and let's put a little bit of spray putty on that and call it good for this bit. It's a bit wetter than I thought. All right, we'll let that do its thing, and then we can give it a block back, get ready for the cream colour.
A few moments later.
Over to the bench here. And as you can see, we have our conrods all lined up. Everything's been cleaned here. We were lucky that our brass bushes here for the gudgeon pin they're all good, so we don't have to touch them. I've got new bearings here from Wolfberg West. So we're going to trial fit these suckers into the crankshaft. You can see here, I've given this a little bit of a polish up just to get the surfaces nice and shiny, and they do look pretty good. They're not 100%. There's a couple of little tiny lines in them, but look, for what this thing is going to do, even Oven Boy said it's fine. It's all good. So we're going to just do a dry run now. Just pop those conrods on and just see how they fall, if they're falling under their own weight, or whether we need to do any mods to them. Let's have a crack and see how we go here. So I've put number 3 conrod in, and we've torqued that up to spec, and you can see she's actually doing really nice things here. I've been getting some instructions from Oven Boy to make sure I'm doing everything correctly here. Because, you know, I don't build motors for a living. It's really good. That's got the perfect amount. It's got no play this way. It's got a tiny bit sideways, but that's within acceptance, I've been told. So yeah, we're going to move on to number 1 next. We're going to get that all prepared up. All right, we'll start up the torquing specs. And we are 36 foot-pounds for this sucker. So we're just going to go ever so slightly and keep spinning it. Make sure that we are happy. So far, so good. That's 36. 36. And we're good. No problems there. That's nice. Righto, number 2 is next. And that's that way. That one's going to be that way. Alright, double check this one. Beautiful. That's how it should be. Okay, and now on to the final one. We want to make sure we got our numbers correct here. So that's that way, that's that way, that's that way, that one's going that way, which means numbers go that way. Retorque that one. So we should be looking at flat, 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 numbers to the bottom, which we've got, and that job is done. Woo, let's move on. Okay, one of the next things we have to do on the crankshaft is put on this bracket, the cog for the camshaft, obviously. Now we're going to heat this up in the oven, and then hopefully we'll be able to just drop it on top. So let's go and chuck her in my little oven that I've got here. We can just place him right there, and put this onto fan. I think that'll do the job. Put it up to 200 degrees Celsius. Leave that for 20 minutes and we'll come back. Okay, time to get the cam gear out of the oven. Gloves, let's go for it. Done. Our little clippy thing's going to go on next, which is that way, like so. Excellent. Okay, here is the number, the distributor drive cog, and you can see she's steaming away, and it's in its position. Now we can get our little circlip on, and the circlip goes that way. Okay, so that is ready to rock and roll. Next thing we're going to do is do some trial fitting on the case half. So let's get that set up. Okay guys, so we've done a bit of a trial fit. I've just basically popped the crankshaft in, and I've also marked the bearings just on either side, just so we've got the orientations correct. You can see that's the top part for the next. And what we're going to do now is just trial fit the rest of the case and just make sure. We'll tighten it down and make sure that it's happy and it rotates without any binding or any issues. I think it's going to be fine just because it's all standard bearings. We're not changing anything. So it's really just going in with new bearings. Yeah, we'll grab the other half and pop it on. Okay, let's pop those on. We've got our two sure that we've got no issues. Okay, so something's stopping it from going together at the back. So we're just going to pull it off again and have a bit of a look at the back here and see what's going on. Because yeah, there's a little bit of rocking. Okay, so we've just popped it back together, and we've got a nice closed up gap pretty much all the way around. So everything's looking good there. And what we're going to do now is we will rotate the crank just to make sure that we've got no issues. I don't think we do, because I think everything's pretty much fallen together, but we're going to get some bolts on, or nuts on here, tighten her up, and then we'll give it a bit of a spin and see what happens. Okay, we can separate, pretty much we've got all the nuts and bolts out of it. Yep, we can separate this again now, and that will be one of the next steps. After that will be just the trial fitting some more components. Yeah, we don't actually have too much more. Actually, one thing I do need to do is the gold coating needs to be cured in the oven. So we've got to put these halves in the oven for 90 minutes, for an hour at 90 degrees Celsius, and that will cure this magnesium coating. So that's going to be one of the next things we're going to do. We're going to strip this back down now. Now that we know the crankshaft's working well, there's no issues with it binding or do anything silly, which I didn't think there was going to be. We can pretty much start continuing after we've cured the cases, start assembling it and putting it together. Cool, let's keep going. So we're going to leave this for now. I will just wrap this up in plastic because I want, that'll do, I want Oven Boy's opinion before we start assembling and putting this back together properly, but at least it works and we've got no issues. So we're going to move our attention back to the underside of this bus. I'm not too worried about that. That will get painted once we do some other touch-ups as well. But really, now we can start to do the final clean on the underneath of this. I have put some reinforcement just in some sections that needed it, but we've got some holes that are drilled for the apparatuses on the inside, so I'm going to leave all that. Pretty much now, most of it under here is all good. We do have a couple of holes here which I'm not sure what they're for, so I'll have to go inside the back and just check it out. We might even have to weld those up and see how we go. But yeah, I think this is going to be really close for painting, so probably one of the next things we're going to have to do is start masking up and protecting the paintwork on the outside of it, because we obviously don't want overspray getting on here. Also my hoist, and we might even just make a curtain, drop a curtain right around it, and then we can get up inside. I do have some seam sealer, so we're going to use this Sikaflex product just to go in around all these little seams around here. So we'll get that done, and then we can start looking at using some, this one here. We've also got our anti-stone chipping coating, which I'm gonna run this on the underneath of all the guards here. That's just a stone chippy kind of, it gives it a bit of a resistant against chips, I suppose you could say. So I'm going to put that on first, and then we will go with our factory grey underneath that. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for the new subscribers, and we will catch you in the next episode. Time to go inside and have dinner. Yo, see ya.